Hey there, everyone. I'm Karen. I'm here with I'm here having coffee with my sisters, Natalie and Lisa. Hi, Natalie. Hi, Lisa.
Hey,
Hi.
I will
We're
be
playing to finish
drinking.
off our just. Sorry, what do you got?
I'm going to be drinking out of my pink solo cup tonight.
I like it. I have my handy little turquoise Yeti. So, planning on finishing off our study on Esther. Last time we left off at the peak of Haman's pride when he thought all was going his way, and that was the end of chapter 6. But according to Proverbs 16:18, pride always comes before a fall. So I'm pretty sure I smell a fall coming for Haman. So tonight we're going to talk about chapter 7 through chapter 10, and we're going to kind of round it off. But before we start, I have 3 this or that questions to throw at
Here we
you
go.
guys.
Okay.
So you don't know what they are. They're don't worry, they're easy.
Okay.
Like real easy. But it's just to give everyone a little bit of information about you. So I'm gonna give you 2 things and you both have to tell me which one matches you. You ready?
Everybody
Okay.
gets the same thing?
Yes.
Okay.
You both get the same thing.
Should
Ready?
we write it down and then like show it?
No.
Okay.
So so from this little tidbit of conversation, can you tell that my sister and I are going to be totally different in our answers?
You might be the
Okay,
same
I'm
with
ready.
yeah, okay. Here we go. Morning person or night owl?
Morning.
Easy peasy.
Morning.
Morning for me.
See?
Ooh, all right.
You're both
Good
the same.
job.
You're both the same. And just in case you're wondering, I am also morning. So
Hey.
that's
Yeah.
probably why we're all like tired right now.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, we should do this podcast at like 5 a.m.
Absolutely. I'd be like, hello.
We could try it sometime.
We should try it sometime.
We should. That would be cool. Everyone else in my house might be like, why? But yeah, I'm down. All right. I think I might know this answer too, but let's see. Beach or mountain?
Beach for me.
Mm,
1
see.
million%.
Yeah. So, yeah, I can see that. So, I like the beach, but I can't live there because it gets hot. I know, Natalie, you could live there. Oh, I've been there with you. We've lived there, and I'm seeking shelter, and you're like, where are you going? So I'm kind of in between because I do love the beach, but in small. So neither. I'm going to say in between, a lake. There
Yeah.
you go.
So
A
that's
lake.
mine. Mine is a lake
Yeah.
in the mountain.
There you go.
Or
Actually, that's where I spend the summer, at a lake in the mountains.
In the mountains that has a beachy scene.
That has a
sandy
beach.
A sandy beach.
That's right.
yes. See, I'm not really a beach person either, but I love to watch it and like see it. So I wouldn't mind having like being in a house or a condo near the beach so that I could see it. I'm
Mhm.
just not a beach sitter.
Oh, see, I am a little, but what do? I go up on the party boat in the shade while Natalie stays in the sun because I love it outside. I think we all love it outside.
Yeah,
You
for sure.
narrow it down to that.
Yeah. Okay, last one. This one, I don't know. Okay, so would you rather binge watch a show or watch 1 episode a week and pace yourself out?
If it's good, I want to binge it. I like to binge it.
I'm sort of binging too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm also a binger. It's
Where
really hard. It's really hard because you never used to be able to binge like back in the day. So now if I'm watching something and it's like current, I'm like, where's the next one? And Jared's like, honey, it's not till next week. I'm like, what? So yeah, I like to binge watch also.
Do you get disappointed when it ends? Like you've binged it and you loved it, and then you're like, oh, it's all over. I wished I would have waited and did it a little bit at a
spaced it
time.
out. Yes.
Yeah. Sometimes Jared just tells me to watch 1 at a time. He like kind of like chocolates. He's like, you can just have 1.
Well, this is what I do so we watch the series The Traders. And so if I don't have time to watch 2 full episodes or if I watch 2 and I wanna watch the 3rd one, because they always end on a cliffhanger, right? I watched the first part, so, like, they kill somebody off there, like the mafia, the traders and the village people or whatever, traders and good people? Faithful, traders and faithful. And so
Yeah.
the traders kill off the faithful. So I will watch the part where it shows who got murdered in the night, and then I'm like, "Okay, good, I'll go to bed, I'll finish the rest of it." So that I
That
can
makes
do, but
Yeah, that makes
yeah,
sense. Yeah.
What
yeah.
is this show that you're speaking
My
of?
it's called Traders, it's on Peacock, it's very, very good.
That's not one of our streamings,
Yeah,
so
it's kind of like the game they
we
play at
have
camp.
3.
They play that game at camp, that
Yes, it's like
maf
Mafia.
Okay.
it's kinda
Yeah,
like
I
that, but in a TV
Mhm,
form.
yeah.
Yeah. I like it as well. We still have Peacock, but we don't have Netflix anymore, and I don't know how I feel about that.
There are some things I like on Netflix.
Yeah,
yeah.
there are. So, I'm trying to come to terms, but it's alright. I'll be okay.
Dear.
Alright. So we kinda split this up. We're gonna talk about different chapters, and starting with chapter 7, I think, Lisa, that's your specialty.
I think it is. I've got notes everywhere. Hopefully, I can keep them in order. With chapter 7, it's really cool because there are a lot of comparisons, like wishes and requests, and sold and I can never say this word, killing everyone. Say it for me. What is
Analysis?
it?
Annihilation?
Now, see, I can't even say it. Like,
Annihilation.
annihilation. There we go. Good job. Thank you for helping me with that. And then you have foe and enemy, and it's really a cool chapter. So we're starting chapter 7 with Haman was at home with everybody. He was a little concerned, but he was excited too because the second banquet was ready. And it shows them going and picking him up and bringing him to the second banquet. And that's where it starts. So we start with Queen Esther is like, see, that's where I knew it. I was going to do it. In verse 2, King Xerxes is like, okay, what's your request? Even to half of my kingdom, which is pretty amazing. And so Queen Esther's like, if I have found favor and if I please you, the king, which is kind of like she's kind of speaking to him, like not really patronizing him, but she wants to make sure he remembers that she knows he's the king. So if it pleases you, because you're the king and
She's, like, petting his ego.
yes, and just making sure she's sharing that I know you're the king, but I know also that you really care for me because I'm your queen and you think I'm beautiful. So she's kind of like got him on both sides there. This is where she said, my wish is my life be granted to me. So that's her wish, just that my life not be taken from me. And my request is for also my people to not be taken. And then that was down in verse 3, but I wanted to read verse 4. So she's kind of setting him up.
Wait a minute, can I pause? Can I stop you for a
Sure.
second? Does
Yeah.
it say in there, "My wish and request"?
Yes.
You might touch on those 2 words. Isn't it fast? Are you gonna touch on those 2 words?
No, but please do. No, what?
So
Hit
I
it.
never thought of that until you just said it. My wish, like a
Yes.
wish is something that probably might not get, it's just a wish. Like I'm wishing for it. A request is something that so she only wishes for herself, but her request is for her people. I never thought of that until you
That's
just said
good.
that, Lisa.
That's good.
Wow,
Yeah.
yeah. Never thought of that.
Good. I love that. Yeah, no, always pull out. If I don't pull something out, pull it out. That's awesome. So verse 4 is for we have been sold. So now she's telling the king what's going on, why she's wishing and requesting. For we have been sold, I and my people, to be destroyed, to be killed, and to be annihilated. I always want to have
Annihilated.
annihilate. That word. Thank you, Kara. If we be to be killed and to be okay, I said that. If we had been sold merely as slaves, men and women, I would have been silent, for our affliction is not to compare with your loss to the king. Come on. And then King Xerxes, okay, so yeah, she's kind of like, again, appealing to him. If it was just slavery, hey, I'm okay with that because your loss would be greater. So I love how she kind of sets him up or sets the scene up, which is really good. And then verse 5, King Xerxes is like, who is it? Like, and where is he? And then we go on to verse 6, and Esther said, a foe, an enemy, wicked Haman. So when you look at a foe is just someone that's kind of against you, but an enemy, she hit it. Okay, he's a foe. He doesn't like us. But an enemy, he hates you. He wants to totally destroy you. So she's setting the scene again. He's not just a foe. He is an enemy that really hates them. And then in verse 7, the king gets irate. They've been drinking again. They've been partying through the time, and he goes out into the garden and just kind of setting the scene. And then Haman, of course, he knows I'm in a world of trouble. This isn't good. And starts to plead his case before the queen, falls on the couch beside her. It's just like it's a movie. We could make a movie out of that. And in walks the king and sees him on the couch with the queen. And he is even more irate now because he's like, he's gonna do this to the queen right in front of me in my castle. He's acting this way. And then I kind of just pulled to verse 9 to the last comparison, and that's remembrance and favor. So in verse 9, we have, sorry, I should have bigger print or reading glasses on. So then Harabon, one of the eunuchs in attendance on the king, said, moreover, the gallows that Haman had prepared for Mordecai, whose word of save the king is standing at Haman's house. Who saved the king is standing at Haman's house. So here's the favor, because remember, the queen, she won over the eunuchs. People just loved her. Everyone loved her. And that favor, and I think that's all the favor of God. And so here's the eunuch. He's like, don't you remember Mordecai and Haman? And so there's that favor again. So he actually is the one that called the sentence on him. Just hang him where Haman was going to hang Mordecai and put him to death. And that's what happened. And they were saying even the gallows, and I think Kara mentioned this before, that wasn't necessarily like a noose around your neck hanging. That was a spear hanging, killed on a spear and hanging on that, which is horrible. I mean, either one of those deaths are horrible, but that is really horrible. So that's just a quick snippet of verse 7. There aren't a lot of verses there, but can you think of, I like how you pulled that out, Natalie, about the wish and request. Can you think of anything else there in the chapter that you might want to?
What version were you using, Lisa? Because I love that. And I have the NLT, and it doesn't read it that way.
It's ESV.
The ESV, yeah. I just love that part.
So watch that verse 4, the wish and command, a wish and request. Yeah.
Mine says petition and request. Yeah, but I don't know.
That's verse 2.
3, I think.
What is your wish?
What was your
Queen
request?
Esther.
Yeah.
It shall be granted to you.
Which
and what
verse
is your
are we-
request?
Okay.
So it's actually verse 2.
Yeah, mine says, what is your petition? And then what is your request? So mine says petition and request instead of wish and request.
Wish.
But I don't know. Is petition and wish the same? Are they synonyms? I don't know. Like in my mind, I think of a petition as something that's written. I don't know.
Yeah. And in the NLT, it just says, tell me what you want, Queen Esther.
Oh.
Tell me what you
Tell me
want.
what you want.
Tell me what you want. What is
What
your
you really
request?
want.
Yeah.
Nice.
But I think that part that when I heard Lisa was in 3 when she said my wish and my request, right? My wish is,
Yes, you're right.
yeah.
Yes. Let my life be granted me for my wish and my people for my request.
Yeah. There's just
That is verse 3.
there's something there, I feel like, that this translation misses. I'm going to have to write that down so I can dig a little deeper.
Yeah, like she's putting her people above herself.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what I want. But almost like for Christmas, if I could only have one gift, this is what it would be, right? If I
Right.
can only have one, if you will only grant me one, then save my people.
Well, speaking of having only one wish, that's going to come up in chapter 8.
Awesome.
So I'll start chatting about chapter 8. And if anything pops up as we're going through it, feel free to chime in. So Haman has been hung at the end of chapter 7. And then at the beginning of chapter 8, King Xerxes gave all of Haman's possessions, so all of his house and all of his possessions, gave everything to Esther. And the king gave his signet ring that was once Haman's in Haman's possession, he gave that to Mordecai. So with the signet ring, you can pretty much, it's kind of like giving someone a blank check, a signed blank check, because they could pretty much use that ring, the king's ring, to ask for anything or to put any decrees in place. So Mordecai has the ring, the signet ring, and Esther has charge of all the possessions. Well, Esther gave Mordecai charge of all the possessions. So now Mordecai has charge over all of Haman's possessions and has the king's signet ring, which used to belong to Haman. So you want to talk about tables being turned. But we still have this issue with the Jews are still going to face annihilation, Lisa. Annihilation is coming
I'm
their
going to
way.
practice that word. I got to practice that word.
So the king had decreed it. So all of the Jews are going to face being attacked. So Esther, once again, kind of falls down at the king's feet and tearfully pleads with him to stop this evil plot against her people, the Jewish people. And the king had already had Haman hung. The king had already taken all of Haman's possessions and gave them all to Esther, already took the ring and gave it to Mordecai. So he had already tried to kind of make things right, per se, but unfortunately he could not reverse the decree because he wasn't allowed to. Like, once it's decreed, it's decreed. So he comes up with this idea, the king does, and he says, okay, well, I will give you, Esther, and Mordecai, the permission to write another decree in my name, which cannot be reversed. So basically, Esther and Mordecai can come up with whatever they choose to decree with and sign it with the king's signet ring. So I was kind of thinking about this. I was like, oh, well, like, they pretty much have the power at this point to ask for anything that they want. Like, they could ask for, I don't know, some crazy stuff, probably some selfish things, I would think, but they choose to create a decree that allows the Jewish people to basically fight back and defend their lives on this one day. So they're permitted to kill any armed forces, anyone that it comes to attack them on this one day. And they're also allowed to take any goods from their attackers as spoil. So it's written and it's translated and it's sent out to all the 127 provinces in the kingdom. The horses ran really fast to get the word out. And like, this got me thinking too, like, this really, like, I was like, wait a minute. Why do the Jewish people need permission to defend themselves? Because if in the United States of America, in our current culture, if we knew that we were going to be attacked, either personally or as a country, but I'll just say personally, like, if I knew that that my house was going to be attacked on a certain day, I'm pretty sure that I would set up some ways to defend myself. Like, that's just our natural response. And do you agree? Like, I'd probably go down and buy myself some guns or set up some booby traps and, some, I don't know, some rat traps and some things falling from the trees. I don't know. I'd come up with something to defend myself. So I started researching. So I was like, I wonder why they didn't just defend themselves. It turns out that they were not allowed to. And I wrote some notes so that I wouldn't forget. So under the Persian monarch, taking up arms to defend yourself without royal permission would have been treated as an illegal rebellion against the empire. And it would have actually exposed the Jews to more severe persecution because they would have been punished by the empire. So that's why they didn't just think, well, we'll just fight back and defend ourselves. Like, we consider that a right, the right to bear arms, the right to defend yourself. And they didn't have the same right. So they have this decree. And once the decree was spread throughout all the provinces, the Jewish people were very happy. It gave them hope, obviously, and it gave them like something to kind of, way to protect themselves. So it gave them hope and some like revitalized joy. So at the end of chapter 8, you see Mordecai. He's dressed in his royal robes, blue and white and purple. I mean, this guy, comes from like ashes and ripping his clothes in the city streets. So now he's wearing royal robes. He has a golden crown on his head. He goes out in the city and he shouts and he rejoices because, the Jewish people actually have a chance now. So that's kind of at the very end of the chapter. And it even says at the very, very, very end, which would be verse 17, it says, and in every province and in every city, wherever the king's command and his decree came, the Jews had gladness and joy, a feast and a holiday, and many from among the peoples of the land, submitting themselves to Jewish rite, and became Jews, for the fear of the Jews had fallen upon them. So there was even this mass kind of like conversion happening where people started to side with the Jewish people at this point. So that's where we end with chapter 8.
I
So
like
I
that
don't know if
part.
anything struck you guys weird in chapter 8, but feel free to share.
Not weird, but just like the king, it's kind of a type, Xerxes, and our king, our heavenly king. It's like, fight. I've given you the tools right here. Fight. Don't just lay down and let the enemy take control of you. You have permission to fight.
Oh, I love that. Yeah,
I
we were
thought that
given
was
the
kind of
decree.
cool.
We
We
were
were
given the
given the decree.
Yeah.
We've got the word fight. So
And for
Yeah.
me, I go back to that in verse 15 where it talks about Mordecai and what he's wearing. I think a few weeks ago I talked about how Esther, when she stepped into the presence of the king, it was like her identity. And here Mordecai, he left the king's presence wearing the robe, the great crown, the outer cloak. And so he had stepped into that identity. And this might be a stretch, but he is, again, that type, Lisa, that under the king. It makes me think of the armor of God, right? When we we put on the armor of God, we now have that
nice.
breastplate of righteousness, right? We have all the shield of faith, the sword of the spirit. And so it's kind of like, I mean, you hear it all the time, be dressed for battle. And so I feel like this chapter 8 it was a good example of how that is set up, right? So I don't know. That's just kind of as you were talking about it. I love how you all, both of you, narrate the chapters because it just sort of comes to life. So really good job.
It's fun, right? I like that.
It is. It is very narrative, like a story. The Bible
Mhm,
is a lot of narration that goes with it.
mhm,
And it also shows, like, chapter 8 also shows how, like, if you stand, like, even if you don't understand what's going on around you, but if you stand in, like, faith and you continue to worship the Lord and try to allow him to lead you, that you will see, like, you'll see some evil plans turn around,
mm,
So, and that's definitely happening here. Like, there were some significant evil plans, way more than the evil plans that I'd had against me. At least I don't think I have anyone out for my life right now. But,
Right.
so like they're dealing with some major things, but you can see a major shift and turnaround,
mm,
like major plot twist, you
yeah.
know? And it's, they don't necessarily come out and give God the credit for it, but we all know that it's because the Lord intervened.
Mhm.
So,
That's really good.
Exactly.
Really, really good. And then
Yeah.
the end of Esther is 9 and 10, and chapter 9 is so long, what,
It
39,
is.
that's
Yeah.
why we gave it to you.
32 verses,
There's-
and then chapter 10 is 3 verses.
Yeah.
I actually, when I Googled, like, what, why has anybody talked about the significance of why is chapter 10? Why didn't you just plug it into chapter 9? And one of the articles that I read was that it was like the epilogue. And so I know I'm starting at the end, but sometimes when you read
Uh,
a really great novel, so chapter 9 is this great climax of what we're about to see. And then you even with when we see the Feast of Purim at the end of that chapter, it's like the whole climatic event of everything that Esther has been through. And then 10 is the epilogue. And then this is what happened to this character and this character and this character. And this is what they did. They lived happily ever after.
Yeah.
That brings up a really good question, unrelated, but have either of you ever read the last part of a book before you started it?
Yes.
Me too.
No.
No?
I wouldn't want to read the book then.
Sometimes I do because I want to know if, and I might not read like the whole of the end, but
Same.
sometimes I need to know if it's going to be worth reading it. So I'm like, how good is it at the end?
Even bad is when we're going through shows after show, and I'll be like, don't tell me if there's not another show or another episode. I don't want to know because I don't want to know if this is the end or not. I want to go through it. Don't tell me. So, yeah, I don't even want to know that.
That's funny.
So, Kara, why do you read the end of a book sometimes?
I don't read the whole end, kind of like you. I'll read maybe the last page or the last 2 pages. I think it kind of just gives me, because it's usually like you obviously don't understand anything about it because you're just reading it. But I'm like, I wonder how it gets to that point and what that exactly means. Like how that all unfolds. I don't know. It just sometimes I get curious. I don't always do it. I
I
would
don't
say
always either.
maybe like 30% of the time I might do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You rob yourself of the story. You rob yourself. Like I'm having a hard time processing this. I'm telling you right now.
Now, I will say I rarely watch a movie twice because, which is kind of an oxymoron, right?
Yeah.
Because I've already seen it, so kind of already know the whole story. However, there are a few that I'm like, oh, I could just watch that over and over again. And they're like the old romantic comedies, the How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. And what's the one with Sandra Bullock going?
The Proposal? Oh, no,
Yes,
that's,
the
yeah,
proposal. Yes,
that's one of my
such a good
favorites.
one of my
With
favorite.
Betty White.
Yes.
Yeah, Betty White was in that one.
Yeah, Betty White.
Betty White,
Yeah.
that is like the best scene ever. It's such a great, this is so
Yeah.
great.
Now,
My
the one thing
favorite. Go ahead. Sorry.
I will not watch a movie until I've read the book most of the time.
Okay.
Yeah, because the book's always better.
Okay.
So there
in
are
my
2
opinion.
movies that I've watched over and over and over and over and over again. One is not P.S. I Love You. It's While You Were Sleeping.
Good one.
It's Pride and Prejudice.
That's an oldie.
The good one, not like the spin-offs of different. I'm trying to think of what her name is.
Did you read the book?
No, I did not. I
It's
do like doing that
it's huge.
sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big one. Yeah.
Is Pride and Prejudice, is the book better than the movie?
I don't know. It's been a whole long time since I've read the book.
I'm gonna have to watch that movie because when did that come out?
Is it Kira Cedric? Is she the one that's the actress in that movie?
I
I don't
have
know.
no
You got to
idea.
make sure you get the right Pride and Prejudice.
I actually don't think I've ever seen the movie. I've only read
No?
the book.
Oh, I love that movie. You got to see it.
Is it real
Maybe we
long?
can all watch the movie and do a little synopsis the next time.
Well, there you go. It's a good movie. I'll
We
send you a
can,
clip to make sure you get the right one.
Lisa
Okay.
can read the book.
Oh,
And,
no.
and we
By
can watch
next
the
week?
movie.
Next week, I'll get right on that.
I can listen to it on Audible. Oh, that is great. All right. So Esther 9, when I was reading this, it's sort of like I had just prefaced it a little while ago, but everything that Haman had set out to do, he even chose the day, right? So when I was thinking of this, the words came to me, save the date. You know how when you're doing something big, it's a wedding or it's your bridal shower, you're going to have this big event and you save the date. And so Haman literally saved the date. And even and I'm going to get ahead of myself. This is why you all are so much better because I get it all I just want to spit it all out there. So even the festival of Purim, that first part of Purim, the Pu, so that same as like when you're casting a lot. So let's dig into 9. So on March 7th, and we know that it was in the 13th day of the 12th month, the month of Adar of the ancient Hebrew lunar calendar. So that's why. So in my version, it actually says so on March 9th, the 2 decrees of the king were put into effect. And so they and Kara had mentioned this in chapter 8, that whole they weren't allowed. It made me think of, because in here in that second verse it says everyone was afraid of them. It is that reverent fear that you can't stand up against them because they hold the power. And so now the power is given over to the Jews, and like the nobles, provinces, highest officers, the governors, royal officials, all help the Jews for fear of Mordecai. I mean, to think of where he came from and to this, for fear of Mordecai. It makes you think of, have you ever seen the illustration where there's this like baby kitten who is just seriously afraid, and then and it meows, but then the person, the attacker that's coming at it, actually hears the roar because he hears the roar of like a lion behind it. This verse makes me think of that, right? Like Mordecai in himself was nothing, and yet he is at almost level with the king. Like he has that much power. And so I just thought that that was amazing. And so the Jews went out on the appointed day, they struck down their enemies. And then I love this. If you go into verse 10, this time they did not take any plunder, because this was not about getting, right? The whole idea behind this attack wasn't for that. It was really the vengeance, and that they had the right to do this. And so on this time, they did not take any plunder. I thought that was just amazing, that it was just, that it was without spoil. And so here Haman he has literally set out to eliminate the Jews, created the day, and he is the one that has fallen, and the Jews have power. So the king was informed that the Jews have killed 500 people. So he says to Esther, and as well as Haman's 10 sons. So 500 people, Haman's 10 sons. But now, what more do you want? It will be granted to you. He just keeps giving her over and over and over again. When you think about the love of a king, right? To say, what can I do for you now? Like, kind of like the genie in the bottle, your wish is my command, right? So what is it that you want? And she says again, if it pleases the king, give the Jews permission. Now, remember a few chapters back, she did this about the banquet. Yeah, let's come, I'm going to give you dinner. Oh, wait a minute. Can you come back tomorrow? Can you do it again? It's almost like she pushes the envelope. And so here she says to the king, well, can you give us one more day? Can you just let us do this one more time? Let the bodies of Haman permission to do again tomorrow as they have done today. And this part, I was like, man, girl, you are like, she is all in on this, because, talk about the love of a king to his bride, the love of Esther for her nation. This isn't, when she says, let the bodies of Haman's 10 sons be impaled on a pole, that's really because of that driving force, right? I feel like the love that she had for her people, right? To just let this be a sign, right? That, and so then she has that done. They killed 300 more men, and again they took no plunder. So this is and now, because this is really just about killing the enemy, right? Just being done with the enemy. Meanwhile, the other Jews throughout the provinces gathered together to defend their lives. They gained relief from all, like, they not even just part, but they gained relief from all of their enemies, killing 75,000 of those who hated them, but they did not take any plunder. This was done throughout the provinces. I love this. On March 7th and on March 8th, they rested, celebrating their victory with a day of feasting and gladness. So this is a little controversial. So on March 8th, they rested, and then there's a little asterisk, but it says, so actually they would have killed on 7 and 8 and then rested on 9. That's just a little, it doesn't here nor there probably, but making that the day of their feasting and gladness. And so to this day, rural Jews living in remote villages celebrate an annual festival and holiday on the appointed day in late winter when they rejoice and send gifts of food to each other. But another version says their sorrow was turned into joy and their mourning into a day of celebration. And one author that I read said it's not, that's not even just poetic, it's prophetic. And I that, right?
Yeah.
It's not even poetic. It's literally prophetic because God didn't just cancel the plan of the enemy. He literally rewrites the outcome. And
Mm.
my heart reading that, it's so much bigger than Esther, you were created for a time such as this. I mean, that's the tagline that we take out of Esther. Instead, this is really about God's redemption for this entire Jewish nation and his plan of redemption for them. And so they celebrate this annual festival on these 2 days. Told them to celebrate with feasting and gladness by giving gifts of food and presents to the poor. So not just to each other, feast and then give presents to the poor. And then, so the enemy of the Jews had plotted to crush, I'm way down in 24, to crush and
Mhm.
destroy them on the date determined by casting lots. The lots were called Purim. And so this is the festival of Purim. And when Esther came before the king, he issued a decree causing Haman's evil plot to backfire, and Haman and his sons were impaled on a sharpened pole. That is why this celebration is called Purim, because it is the ancient word for casting lots. I just love that. And so, because of Mordecai's letter, and because of what they had experienced, the Jews throughout the realm agreed to inaugurate this tradition and to pass it on to their descendants and all who became Jews. They declared that they would never fail to celebrate. There's a story in the Old Testament called Ebenezer Stone. It's one of my favorite stories. And it is the same, and we see it over and over again. The word teaches us to hold things as a memory because
Mhm.
there will be, this kind of jokingly said happily ever after, but I mean, this is where Esther is. I mean, we still have this much of the Bible, right? So we know that there's still evil. And even today that we live in, there's evil and there are bad things that happen to really good people. And it's just sucky. And so thinking about times in your life where God answered a prayer, and even if you can't come up with one, there is always the hope of answered prayers as well. Anyway, I love how detailed this is. Celebrated by every family throughout the provinces and cities of the empire. And this festival of Purim would never cease to be celebrated among the Jews, nor would the memory of what happened ever die out among their descendants. And look, that happened in what, 400 something BC? That was in 473 BC, and we're talking about it today, 2026. And so the story literally did live on forever and ever.
Mhm.
And I like this too, and I didn't really have time to dig into it, but I want to, and maybe you all know something. But then Queen Esther, the daughter of Abihail, I don't remember like hearing much of her family,
Or
her parents and that lineage. And so I thought it'd be interesting to kind of dig in there, and maybe there's nothing there. But and then he wrote another, then Queen Esther, daughter of Abihail, along with Mordecai the Jew, wrote another letter putting the queen's full authority behind Mordecai's letter to establish the festival of Purim. Letters wishing peace and security were sent to the Jews throughout the 127 provinces of the empire of Xerxes. These letters established the festival of Purim, an annual celebration, these days at the appointed time, decreed by both Mordecai the Jew and Queen Esther. And so the people decided to observe the festival just as they decided for themselves and their descendants to establish the times of fasting and mourning. So the command of Esther confirmed the practices of Purim. It was all written. I love it. It was all written down in the records.
it's all recorded.
And then this epilogue here, that King Xerxes imposed a tribute throughout the empire, even to the distant coastlands. His achievements and the full account of the greatness of Mordecai are recorded in the book of the history of the kings of Media and Persia. Mordecai the Jew. Here, this is our cast, right? This is our picture. The movie is over, and you're seeing the credits, right? Mordecai the Jew becomes prime minister with authority next to that of King Xerxes himself. He was very great among the Jews who held him in high esteem. And I love this too. This word because he wasn't held in high esteem just because he had the signet ring or just because he wore the clothes, but because he continued to work for the good of his people and to speak of their welfare to all the descendants. I mean, what a great ending to that story, right? An orphan child whose cousin takes her in, literally saves the entire nation.
Yes.
This just happened today because I was thinking about purpose. I'm sure there were times in Esther's we're getting just a snapshot, even though this is 10 chapters of Esther's life. I'm sure there were times in her life where she felt like, what's the use? What am I doing here? Or where do I go from here? What happens to me now? Even when she was taken in by her uncle, right? So, or a cousin, what happens to me now? Well, I was having a conversation with somebody today, and this just rang to me. She was sitting at a lake in another part of the state, and she said there's a sailboat out on the lake today, and it's so loud. And I said, interesting. I wonder if it's either loud because they've got a motor going, or it's loud because they are coming about. And when you come about on a sailboat, the sail, or what they call the sheets, can smack really, really hard. And it's like this huge popping sound, which tells you that sound tells you that you're coming about and you're about to change direction. And this person whom I love is experiencing a change in her life and a new chapter and a new season. And I just said that kind of like she said, I said, oh my goodness, I love that sound. And she said, apparently I hate that sound. And then I got to thinking and I thought, wow, isn't it fascinating that, and I said this to her, that, it's interesting, maybe that boat and that sailboat is there just for you today to help you realize that you are just coming about, that your destiny isn't over. You're literally, and I just felt like, I don't know if anybody else will ever see this podcast, but if there is, that your destiny is not over just because a chapter ends or a season changes. You're literally just coming about. And so when you're coming about in life, and Esther did this when she invited the king and Haman to the first banquet, right? She was just coming about and trimming the sails so that she could change direction to where she needed to be. And I just really felt like the Holy Spirit gave me that picture. And I actually even sent a little picture of Moana to this person sailing a boat, because think of how fearless Moana was in the movie. She just takes hold of that and she's just out for the adventure. And so sometimes what can look really, really scary for us really can just be a change in direction. So I don't know if that makes sense, but that's how
Beautiful.
I wanted to end this chapter.
It does make sense.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know anything about sailing, but I do know that if I was changing direction, mine would be pretty loud because I would probably try to fight it. And and I think a lot of times we try to fight the change in directions that we need to take because it's not really comfortable. Like,
Mhm.
I've been on a sailboat a couple of times in my life, and I remember like turning, like you kind of feel like you
Mm,
kind of feel like you're gonna fall into the water.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, change isn't always easy. So I'm sure Esther had quite a few moments when she thought, "Well, this is just not going to end well.
mhm.
Nothing good is going to come out of this." I'm sure she probably, I mean, how could you not think that at some point?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, so that's a really good analogy.
Yeah. Even when she fasted, she was like, "Okay, I'm gonna fast, but you all better fast too." Like,
Well, I can't believe that that's all of Esther. We really got to know
yeah,
Esther a little
It
bit, I
was
think.
fun.
Oh,
Yeah,
that was so fun.
that
That
was
was really
fun.
great.
I
Did you
mean,
all
just such a
see anything
story.
else in that chapter 9? Did either of you see anything that was worth pointing out that I didn't capture in my fast forward speech?
I mean, I just think it's awesome that they still celebrate Purim.
Mm.
And I know that they all dress in costumes, so it
Mm.
makes me think a little bit of Halloween. But I looked up like why they dress up in costumes, and I mean, obviously people have different reasonings behind it. But one of them was since Esther originally hid her identity, that it's like
Uh-huh.
hiding your identity.
Uh-huh.
But I also saw that, like, one of the commentaries said that it represents the Lord being hidden through the story. But I don't know. I think that's maybe a little bit of a stretch. I mean, yes, he is hidden in the story, but I don't know if that's the reason that they wear costumes. I would more likely think that it's because of like the hidden identity in the first part of the book. I don't know. Have you ever thought of that? Like why? Because they wear costumes
Yeah.
to hide their identity, and they also like you had mentioned, I think, Natalie, the poor go door to door, and basically people give them donations, kind of like how we pass out candy at Halloween. So I was just wondering, like, where those things kinda come from. I'll have to dig a little deeper, but
Yeah, my
I thought
thought
that was
too is
interesting.
that it is about the identity because a lot of the book talks about how, she had to keep her identity and then and even when if you were a Jew, right? Like you kind of kept that under wraps. And so it makes me think of that it was really about their identity.
Yeah. I think so too, but I'll have to dig a little bit further in because 'cause it's been a little while since I read about it, but
I think it's that too, but I like the other side of it, that it's kinda like God was hidden in the book. But I agree with you, it's like the identity. So when I read something in the Bible, like just sentences and verses that really like, oh, you really grab onto, I just underline them. And I did 3 of those in chapter 9, and I didn't even realize it until, um, I was looking down through my Bible. So the 3 things that I kind of underlined, the Jews gained mastery over those who hated them.
What verse is that? Yes.
That is at the end of verse 1. Says,
Yes, okay.
yeah, the Jews gained mastery over those who hated them. And then, Mordecai was great in the king's house. That's verse 4. I don't know. I just kind of picked that one out. And the end of verse 10, but they laid no hand on the plunder. So it was just kind of funny. I do that all through when I'm reading. I'll just underline stuff. For some reason, those really stuck out in my head. And the 12 stones, remember when they got through on the other side? Joshua, the 12 stones when they got through on the other side. So God uses that all through the Bible of the memory. So when you talked about that, Natalie, about the memory, remembering and having something to help you remember. I
Mhm.
like that. I think it's good for us to do that, would be good for us to do that. If you go through a big battle or something that's really it's a fight, to
Mm.
just kind of do something. Like I have a seashell from last year and I just put hope and I wrote in there 2025 hope. So I have that. So I'm really going to try to do that with different things.
Mm. Wow.
yeah. Yeah,
Because
like
we
have a
forget how
remembrance.
easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. To remember that, like, for the next battle that, there's
Yeah.
power in knowing that you've conquered battles in your
Yeah.
past and that you can, with
2025.
the Lord's help. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. I personally I felt a certain kind of way whenever I was reading through, and it said that all 10 of his sons were killed.
mm,
And I was trying to think, and I was like, I bet you, like, the sons were probably, like, legitimately trying to avenge their father's
Mhm.
death, you know what I mean? Like, there was probably some significant anger
Yeah.
driving them, and that anger comes up a few times in Esther,
Mhm.
like, at the beginning with Vashti, there was, like, an enraged anger. Like, several times anger comes up, and every time anger comes up in the book, it never ends well. And I think that's kind of
mm.
a lesson that we can bring into, like, our 2026 lives. Not saying that you should never be angry. I mean, there is, like, there are times then we're obviously going to be angry, but to let anger like overtake you
Control.
in that way, to like control you to where you can't even see clearly, like that is just, a pit of disaster awaits when that happens. And it's shown that a few times. So I mean, it doesn't say that the sons were angry, but the sons were angry, I
Of
mean,
course. Well, because they were actually plotting with him back those few verses, right? With the or was it the friends and the wife and the
right. Yeah.
so they were plotting for the demise of the Jews as well.
They were. And then when their father was killed, I'm sure that that brought something up in that, and it just didn't end well. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, but good book. It
Such a good
would
story.
kind of be nice, like to know all of the missing pieces,
Someday.
and how people really felt, and why did Esther do certain things that she did. Yeah, it would just be interesting to know that. Maybe someday, right? We can ask her. Well, this was a good one.
So did we want to,
People have to.
Natalie, did you want to end in prayer?
Father, thank you. Thank you for this time. Thank you for coffee with my sisters and all of our sisters. You have created us. Father, we all belong to you. And so we are sisters in your sight. And so, God, I just pray for every woman who may have heard parts of these podcasts and parts of what we have talked about, and even through some laughter and through some seriousness, that they've gained sight. I pray that every woman who has heard part of this truly believes that they are your favorite and that they are created for such a time as this, whatever the this is in their lives. And so, Father, we just thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. And thank you for the opportunity to serve you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Bye.